with 6 gazetted products, now 8, having their products affixed with digitally traceable tax stamps. The system would go on to help URA protect traders who have been struggling with unfair competition from smugglers and manufacturers of counterfeit products. On the 29th of March 2020, the URA Commissioner General, John Mchuzi, was appointed to lead URA. John is so far leading the march towards the future with a new strategic direction, mission, vision, core values, client value proposition, and a tech-driven service delivery upgrade.
Capo, you seem to be in a hurry. Where are you going to?
I'm gonna pay URA visit.
Why would
Carrying on from where his predecessor left off, the Commissioner General John R. Mchuzi launched Kakasa, a threefold business solution which includes IFRIS, DTS, and the Voluntary Disclosure Program. With 1 year in the books, under the leadership of John Mchuzi, URA has seen several efforts to facilitate tax education and outreach activities in support of the national agenda of domestic revenue mobilization, with the introduction of the auto conversion in customs processes, the Tujenge Uganda bus, a bus designed to offer mobile tax services, especially to remote areas that lack the proximal access to URA offices and electronic services, and the URA TV, a state-of-the-art online TV with a well-facilitated studio dubbed the URA Drift Studio. It is from this facility that URA is running programs lined up of 14 business-leaning sector-based tax education programs for taxpayers, as well as driving internal communication to achieve a shared understanding of the new direction for staff.
Morning Uganda, welcome to another session of our Tax Mchuzi webinars. My name is Anan Priska and I'll be your host today as we get into our back to school topic. Welcome. In studio today we're joined by our tax expert who many of you know. Please join me in welcoming Hafsa Seguya. Hafsa, please share your opening remarks with the audience before we get into the
Good
session.
morning viewers. And we are glad to have you once again this morning. The season is back to school, we all know. We are running up and down to see that our children enter school yet for another year. And that's the reason why URA will not forget reminding you of your obligations. Today we want to shoot into school owners, proprietors. What responsibility is there for you? What shouldn't you forget as the year begins in respect of your tax compliance, because there are issues that you may not take seriously, yet on our side as URA, we want you to engage and see that you can comply to the best of it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Hafsa. So, like she said, it's back to school season, and you know, schools are opening. And what are some? Just break down what are some of those the obligations that every tax school owner should know.
Let's look at schools as they open. This is a new year, and it calls for new things.
Okay.
In most cases, teachers change the schools in which they were serving. You have a breed of new teachers. Some of them are new support staff. At least a conversation we need before the term begins. A team is very important for everybody you're employing. Before the teacher starts executing duty, when the term begins, the most important thing is, do they have a team? Have they supplied it with you? And have you confirmed it's their team? Okay. Both teaching and non-teaching. Because when you're looking at the pay grades you offer, you may find yourself offering more than 235,000 to any of these. Ideally, it will pick pay as you earn. How are you going to report that pay as you earn in the payee return, yet those that you are deducting from don't have TINs? So that is very important to our support staff, both teaching and non-teaching, ensure that they have a TIN. And we have another issue with schools. At times they have part-time teachers. Yes. Those who come in part-time, but they have an original school where they are teaching. So they come give you 1-2 hours. So at the end of the month, you're computing the value within the hours they gave you in the course of the month. How are you going to manage that? Ideally, In URA, we use that, we call that secondary income.
Okay.
Because there is a primary income source where this teacher spends most of the time.
Okay.
They come and give you 2 hours, maybe they are giving another 1 hour somewhere. So before you pay them, kindly don't subject them to the pay as you earn brackets, because they have already benefited from the pay as you earn brackets in their original employment,
Okay.
where what they call the primary employment. So here, these are part-timers. And whatever you pay a part-timer has to pick 30%. Okay. So that is the conversation we want these people to engage in before the school begins. So that you don't have issues at the time of payment. You will want to deduct, and the teachers are not aware where you're deducting the 30%. They will tell you, for me, I've already paid tax wherever I teach. Tell them this is secondary income, and if it is secondary income that does not have any exemption under the Income Tax Act in Section 21, ideally we come to pick tax. That is the other. And we are looking at suppliers who supply our schools. Because term is beginning, the year is beginning, you are meant to stock. You're stocking the beans, you're stocking the G-nuts, you're stocking the posho, you're stocking whatever rice, whatever it is, to be ready for the children to come back. Because you need to feed them for those 3 months that they will be with you.
Okay.
Kindly engage your supplier to know that the supplies they'll be making to you, in the event that the value of the supply exceeds $1 million, withholding tax comes in at 6%.
Okay.
So when we are looking at the items that are supplied to our school, when I talk about beans, ideally beans is an agriculture supply.
Yes.
The beans will not pick withholding tax.
Okay.
When I talk about the G-nuts, it's agriculture, it won't pick. But when I talk about posho, if this supplier supplies you the flour, it's going to pick withholding tax. One, you have added value onto the agriculture supply. So it no longer falls within
The agriculture.
what is agriculture. We are adding value. It is not the other grain, the
crop.
maize itself. If they had supplied you maize, then it would qualify for that. You wouldn't have to deduct 6% when you're paying that supplier, irrespective of the value of that transaction. But when it comes to things like flour, whenever you add value, then it is graduating. It is no longer agricultural supply. When you look at firewood, schools cook on firewood. Most of it, it's done, a bigger percentage is done on firewood. Firewood is not an agricultural supply, and ideally it has to pick withholding tax.
Okay.
Kindly engage your supplier who brings in the firewood that effective 2023, these are the new guidelines. This is how we are going to operate, because things are changing with URA. This is how we are meant or supposed to behave if we are to be compliant. I can't pay you 100%, yet I am a designated tax withholding agent.
Okay.
Because once I fail to withhold from you, then the liability of paying goes back to me. URA will come to me to pick what I forgot or what I didn't pick from you. So ideally it becomes your burden. You, the proprietor of the school, you, the administrator, you have to pick from your pockets to pay what you didn't withhold from your suppliers. And mark you, if you don't withhold from them, it's like you're exempting them to pay indirectly, because you feel you don't want to withhold from them. Yet at the end of the day, you tell us, not everybody is paying tax. We are trying to get a mechanism so that each of them pays tax. Because when you look at somebody who supplies firewood, you may look at firewood as something that is simple. But by the end of the term, you may find millions and millions with the firewood supplier. then what is happening to the firewood supplier? How does he contribute or she contribute to developing the nation when you did not help us get it from him and get it to us? So I want the school owners and proprietors or administrators who act on their behalf to note these small things. They may look small, but ideally they are big. Because with a withholding tax return, ideally you cannot file without a TIN for those who supplied you. And if you can't file, then that means you're not compliant. And if you don't file, my penalty will come in handy. A penalty is a cost to your business. So to avoid all this mix-up, your first conversation with your supplier is, Olinatini. Things have changed. I want the tin in the names of what you're supplying. The proforma you've given me, the names of the proforma should be the tin names, so that when I am paying you, it is very clear when we look at your return, we know whoever you spent on the 5 million gave you firewood in the course of the term. And you withheld, because you'll find most of these schools, the way they do it, they do not pay the whole 5 million at once.
Okay.
No.
Depends.
They just give you a contract to supply. Then you supply, you may supply firewood of 500,000. At that particular time, you can't withhold. Reason, the value hasn't exceeded $1 million, as per section 119 of the Income Tax Act. But the other supply of the same supplier would be, say, 600,000. The moment it hits $1 million and exceeds it, then at that particular time, when you're meant to pay the supplier the second installment of 600, kindly compute, add 500 and 600, compute 6%, whatever is equivalent to your 6%, kindly do subtract it from the 600 before you pay them. And maybe the other mistake, our bursars, the accountants, the accounts department, at times they do some errors in computation before they pay. Once this supplier has supplied you items that pick VAT, the first thing, I just imagine you talked about a tin before they started supplying. That is well. Then secondly, whenever they give you a pro forma, and whatever they've indicated is vertible, implying that it's picking 18%, kindly tell them at payment date, I only pay when you've given me an IFRS invoice.
Okay.
If that doesn't happen, I am not going to pay you, because it's a requirement by Uganda Revenue Authority.
Okay.
That whatever is vertible has to go through the IFRS platform. And you, the paying authority at the school, kindly be keen. If supplier X gives you an invoice of 2,360,000, ideally, and tells you it is VAT inclusive, it has come through an IFRS invoice, very well, good. Before paying them, kindly first exclude the VAT component from that amount, so that you can have the amount onto which you're going to compute 6%. What I am saying, you have your invoice of 2,360,000. It is VAT inclusive. Ideally, 360 is VAT in that invoice. Just remove the 360. We'll have 2 million. Kindly compute 6% on the 2 million. So that's the amount you are withholding. I don't want you to withhold on an amount that includes another tax type. Because this same supplier has the obligation to file for VAT. Then which amounts will he file for VAT when you have already touched the VAT component? I don't want you to touch the VAT component, because his filing will have issues. Because he needs to give us the right amount that have come through the fiscalized documents. That's the e-invoice. So kindly pick 6% on an amount that is exclusive of VAT in the event that the supplier is VAT registered and has invoiced you VAT inclusive. Kindly be keen and first remove the VAT out of the whole amount, then remain with the amount that is exclusive of VAT. That is where you compute 6%. Whatever you get that is equivalent to 6%, kindly reduce it from the total invoice amount, then pay your supplier.
And Hafsa, if I have made some mistakes in my returns, you know, when I'm computing my taxes, can I amend?
At this particular moment, who are you who has made mistakes? The school owner, the service provider?
The school owner.
The school owner ideally files for withholding tax, files for pay as you earn. So ideally, if there is any mistake in a return, we provide for an amendment of a return. That provision is there. But definitely it has to relate to the original return that you gave us. When you put in the reference number of that return, then clearly it will bring back what you submitted. Then the choice is yours to touch where you feel the error was and resubmit so that your can receive it. Everything is done online via our web portal, but the most important thing is you should have login credentials, your TIN and password, so that you can be able to access your account and go do the amendment. It's okay to make an error. And by the way, it's even okay to make an error on the e-invoice. If your supplier has supplied you, at the time they are generating the e-invoice, there is an error. And you realize there is an error and you're not going to pay them. Kindly tell them to put in a credit note. Because a credit note rectifies what has gone wrong on the invoice, and it pushes the figures low in the event that there is a mistake. If there is an issue, if there is an error that is causing the figures to go high, kindly initiate a debit note. Everything is there, and everything is a self-service for our users of these different channels that we avail to them. So we want our schools to be very cautious on these things. As we begin that term, kindly don't just tell somebody, just put the firewood here. Have you taken that lorry there? How have you engaged the supplier? Because if you don't engage them, you are going to get issues. You're going to get a back and forth. You're going to quarrel with your supplier because you didn't prepare them for what you want them to do. Kindly prepare them. Do they have a tin? Our tin is free. We even have the instant tin that somebody can get within 5 minutes. So we are trying to simplify our services so that there is business continuity. On the other hand, where our clients are handling their activities.
And Hafsa, you know, from your submission, it seems as if it's very important for school owners to actually take the step to teach, like to sort of like teach their teachers.
To create awareness.
Yeah, to create awareness.
But in the event that they need training, maybe they could come, they could get back to us. We do that training. We have different, we have different platforms where we do training. Even here, doing a webinar is training. We also do face-to-face. We can do stakeholder engagements, but communicate. We have different communication channels. 0800 11 7000, 0800 21 7000. We also on WhatsApp. Communicate and tell us, School X, we need some training here. You can even go to the station head of that station that is within your area jurisdiction. Tell them we need to talk to our teachers. Whenever we do deductions, they feel it's unfair. We have been doing it in the holidays for some schools when the teachers are a little freer, both teaching and non-teaching. So that we tell them, whatever allowance you do get from your employer is taxable. If they give you a lunch allowance, if they give you a transport allowance, medical allowance, it is taxable. But if your employer gives you a reimbursement, say you have spent on medical and they are paying back a reimbursement is not taxable. So we need to create such differences or clarity to our clients moving forward, so that they can work well in the course of the year. We are not interested in penalizing you because these penalties become a cost to the institutions, and in most cases they are hurting. They eat up our profits, and after eating up our profits, we may find them eating up the capital. Yet I want this school to be around for the time it's meant to be around, because they are supporting the education sector. Ideally, if those private schools were not around, for example, you may find when we can't all go to government schools, we can't take our children to all government, they can't absorb us. The capacity is too high. That is why the private schools come in handy. But still, I call still to even government schools. If you have teachers that are paid off the government payroll, kindly do register for pay as you earn, and you will pick the pay as you earn from their payments before you pay them, because pay as you earn has brackets.
And how is it computed?
235, in the excess of 235 to 335. That means we are looking at how much your salary exceeds 235. So that is the amount we should first establish, then apply 10%. Whatever we get will be your pay for that month. So 335 up to 410, then we look at how much your salary is exceeding 335,000. Whatever amount we'll get, we are going to apply 20%. When we apply 20%, we'll add a 10% after the computation. Then in excess of 335, 410, not exceeding 10 million, we are looking at how much your salary, your gross when all the allowances are there, is exceeding 410. Whatever figure we get there, we apply the 20%, then we'll add 25,000, we'll add 15,000. Then it's a progressive tax. That's why it's called pay as you earn. The more you earn, the more you pay. The less you earn, the lesser you pay. So ideally, it's basically that. So we should be very clear that this season, that is what we feel our school proprietors, the owners, should help us institutionalize in their institutions, to see that we don't get them off guard. Because our duty is to see that we mobilize revenue in a transparent and efficient manner. Transparent because I refer to the tax law. When the tax law tells me your return is late here, ideally a penalty comes in. Your payment is late here, interest imposition comes in. So we are trying to see that we guide our clients to see that they do not go in fault with us. That, you know, I failed to deduct, I forgot to deduct. Tell them, fine, you forgot, but we need it. Kindly do the payment, then you will sort yourself with your supplier. Because you know your supplier better. You're the one who gave your supplier the contract to supply. You know where they stay. You know where their offices are. You can basically get back your money.
And you've been hinting on the penalties.
Yes.
Would you please expand on that? You know, what are the actual figures?
Ideally, when you file late, a penalty for the monthly returns is 200,000 or 2% compounded, or 2% in the event that whichever is higher is what we take. So we look at the return you're giving us. Does it have a payment in it? If I compute 2% of that and compare it with 200,000, what is higher? So we pick what they exactly. So we wouldn't want to see our clients in the payment, the penalty bit, the interest bit. The year is just starting. You're not sure of whether all the candidates you had or students are coming back. You're trying to market the place, the school, most of for those private institutions. Kindly see that you adhere to what we expect, so that we have a smooth journey with Uganda Revenue Authority. There is no way I'll offer that transformational revenue service when things are not in order. There is no way we are delivering this country to economic independence when you do not take that withholding. Everybody should take their fair share of taxes, so that you and me, if all of us pay a little, then nobody will pay much. We will be there in terms of collection, God willing.
And so if I'm a teacher and I'm in doubt as to whether my employer, the head teacher, is remitting the tax, how can I confirm that my employer is paying?
Exactly, you're a teacher. You want to confirm whether actually this bursar, this accountant is bringing it to you, or it's not going anywhere. Definitely, it's human nature, it's true. One, supply your tin to the school. So that whenever they are filing for pay as you earn for that month, your pay as you earn contribution comes against your tin. Then point number 2, you can basically create an account via the portal. Our portal page is on www.ura.go.ug. Just look at the right hand corner there where we have login credentials, it's tin and password. Create an account so that you can be able to log in. Once you log in, then on the left hand side below, you will see where there is a word My Ledger. You can go to your ledger and see how much you have contributed. If that fails and you can't interpret it, kindly go to any NURA station, liaison station, to help you. We are going to run the ledger in your presence to show you started contributing this year, and this is how much you started last year. But for those that started contributing when you didn't have a tin, at times there is a problem, because that means your school has to go back and file amended returns to include your tin. Then the system has to pick it. So at times it's a little hectic, but kindly supply your tin before you start on any contract of service with an education institution, so that it's easier for us when you come and supply your tin. I just put in your tin and run your ledger and show you this is your contribution. For these months, this is your contribution. Or for these years, this is your contribution. And by the way, that is very important. You may not know how important it is. Ask me how. These days, people are looking for greener pastures.
Yes.
In different countries, here, there, you need a visa. So as you need a visa, some of the visa offices ask, kindly confirm whether actually you are a citizen. You've been contributing
to your nation,
to national development. Then what proves? You just come to us and tell us, my dear, I need a tax clearance. The other embassy or whatever office needs to see that actually I am a citizen who has been contributing. I have an address. I am teaching here or there or wherever.
Yes.
So that saves you. We just run it, give you your tax clearance, and off you move.
Okay.
But if things are not okay, then we may not be able to give you the right document the time you need it.
Okay. And what if I find that this bursar has not been remitting the
Kindly whistleblow to URA 0800 11 7000, 0800 21 7000. We have a WhatsApp. Kindly just send.
And do I get a reward?
So and so kindly check.
Do I get anything for
whistleblowing?
Yes.
Yes, we improved on the way we do the informal management, the handling.
Okay.
If you help us discover unassessed tax, unassessed,
okay,
we give you a reward.
Percentage?
I think it's about 1%, around there. I'm not very sure of that, but it's something there. If you help us discover, or if you help us collect uncollected tax, then the reward goes higher. So we categorize, because you may whistleblow and we don't collect. We fail to collect. What you've whistleblown, in looking at it, it did not have the merits of collection. Yet we are here paying you. So we have to create a difference in between the rewards. If you help us discover and assess where we can assess, there's a reward. But if you help us in collecting what was assessed but uncollected,
Ah.
then it goes higher.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
That's very helpful. And so we have talked about some of the obligations of school proprietors, but what are some of the rights? For example, from URS part, what's URS part?
Every client has a right, one, to be heard.
Okay.
You have a right to be heard by the authority if you feel you're not being understood by either the station head of where you're operating or anybody. Kindly escalate and get another independent ODS to hear you out.
Okay.
Second, you have a right to object. Not every assessment that we give you may be comfortable to you.
Okay.
If you feel it has discomfort, kindly do object. The objection module is online. You can object to an assessment within 45 days from when we supply it to you. If you feel it's not the right one, kindly do object, but giving us your grounds and telling us, are you objecting to the whole amount, say of 10 million, or you're partially objecting to 6 and you agree with that 4.
Okay.
All those ingredients are required in your objection as you push it in. And URA is meant to give you an objection decision within 90 days from when we receive your objection.
Okay.
Then you have also a right for confidentiality. Whatever you give us at registration, we have to keep it in confidence.
Okay.
Because you're doing business, you have competitors. We can't go talking about your business here and telling your competitors. It's not healthy.
It's not.
You even have a right to fairness. These assessments should be fair. In other words, they should have a basis. Why do I feel me, you are A, that you should pay the 5? There should be a basis that, look here, this was your income that I discovered. These were your expenses. When I deducted the expenses from your income, and maybe your purchases, this is what was chargeable to tax. And when I charged it at 30%, this is the tax I feel you're supposed to pay. So ideally, whatever we do, we should account for these actions so that our clients can understand us. We don't just wake up and think that school number X, you know, the buildings look very well and should pay this. Yes, they are very well, but those are capital assets.
That's true.
When they look well, have they generated the income? Have the students come? And have they paid? This clearly goes to school owners, administrators. Kindly help us and keep clear records.
Okay.
That I have 5,000, for example. If I have 5,000 students, on the 5,000, the paid up students are 3,000 so far. Then the 2,000, I have 600 for teachers. They pay half. Kindly make it clear with documentation. I have 50 bursaries. These bursaries range from sports excellency, education excellency, maybe foundation body. There are many categories.
Yes.
So that we can understand you. Instead of me coming and saying 5,000 students, I multiply by 1.2 million, that's the fees. I imagine that is your income. Kindly give me a breakdown. Maintain these records clear so that when officers come to you, your officers, it's very clear. Because we know bursaries happen in a school. But what is the criteria? Show me where the minutes, the board meetings are that passed these bursaries. And how many should they be? What are their categories? Who passed the bursaries, the half bursaries for the teaching staff and the non-teaching? We want these minutes there for those board resolutions so that I can take the bursaries you're giving. Because you're getting half payment from those students. So ideally everything should be clear so that we can work in harmony. We can see how we are collecting taxes to develop your country.
Okay, thank you, Hafsa. We have some questions coming in at this point. And I think as URA will not stop singing the song of keep your records and, you know, keep proper records because they guide us when we're assessing you for your taxes and they always really come in handy. So we have a question from Lillian. She's asking, the staff I hire earn 200K only. A tin is necessary?
Definitely a tin is necessary because they are earning 200 today. But tomorrow, God willing, we meet earn 250.
Okay.
which is way above my 235.
Okay.
Kindly let them get tins. Because they could even have other sources of income where a tin is mandatory. Let them get tins. Then on your pay return, just show me that these 5 I have and 200,000. Ideally, 0 pay. Then this one here earns slightly above 235. Indicate them.
Okay.
It's well.
Yeah, that has come out clearly. Lillian, I'm sure you've got your response. And there's another question from Nancha. She says, does withholding tax apply to invoices below 1 million at any supplier?
Withholding tax does not apply to invoices below 1 million. However, if this is a repetitive supply, you've given Hafsa a tender to be supplying you item X, you know that at any one time they are going to exceed 1 million. So bear in mind that at the time they're exceeding 1 million, kindly do compute withholding tax. But if it's a one-off transaction, when one has supplied its one-off and it's below 1 million, kindly don't withhold. Because the law doesn't allow you. Because it's a one-off, somebody has come to repair something and they've gone. Then you don't. But this person who is doing repetitive supplies, then at that time they attain the above 1 million, then that is where we start from the conversation of withholding.
Okay. Thank you, Hafsa. Thank you, Nansha. I believe you've got the response you needed. And at this point, we're going to wind up. But before we close off the show, Hafsa, would you please share your closing remarks?
One, I would like to thank Ugandans for making it easy for us to collect taxes. And at this moment, I would like to thank school owners and proprietors. They put in a lot of money, by the way, to maintain that school the way you want it. Because whenever you take there your kid, you want heaven and earth. But you want the fee structure to be very low. So there is a way they sacrifice and see that they can maintain our kids in school for the whole term. I would like to thank them very much. And ideally, the second thank you is not to close the school. In COVID, many schools turned into restaurants, they turned into arcades. But I would like to thank them very much for having persevered and being available right now. But kindly let us do the right thing to see that you pay the right tax so that you don't give me more than what you're supposed to give me through maybe penalties, through maybe interest. Let us try to be compliant. Let us communicate. And in case you're not clear, in case you have a doubt, most especially for agricultural supplies, kindly get in touch with the station in your area jurisdiction or use our toll-free. Kindly call so that before you go into a mistake of not withholding, at least we are working together. We communicate and guide you. And I would like to thank our clients for giving us taxes. It's not very easy, by the way. If they tell you take this million and bring it back at the end of the month, you may not see it. Exactly. It's a discipline to pay taxes. I would like to thank them very much for having supported us, and every other client and service providers. Kindly cooperate with the schools. Kindly get teams. Kindly do the right thing, because if you don't have any exemption, you are equally eligible to contribute to national development through paying your taxes. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Hafsa. I'm sure our taxpayers, all school owners and school proprietors are all the more knowledgeable after this session. And as we wind up, just as URA, we continue to call upon every taxpayer, keep your records well, because there is the assessment process, and you will only pay the tax you're supposed to pay, but it has to be guided and backed up by your records. As we wind up, I'd like to say stay safe and continue to contribute and pay your taxes on time. Thank you. Have a good day.
On 5th September 1991, the Uganda Revenue Authority is born through an Act of Parliament, Cap 196 of the Laws of Uganda.
we had just started, and they had to bring in an expatriate to start URA. And actually, we worked with him in the same office in that we started from Bank of Uganda, if I can bring that. We started from Bank of Uganda. We worked there. We were about 10 people in that office, all in one room. And then later, we shifted to Nakamba, which is to head